It came to life. It was exactly how they told me it would be. I've heard a lot of A, B, and C, but it ended up being X, Y, and Z. And this was right on point. It was right on point. They told me they wanted a group of humble, low ego players who work hard, who keep their humility throughout the season, and as I say, give it their all. And that's definitely what they've brought together. That's definitely what we have here as a team.
Welcome to the City Voice podcast. I am very excited to announce Niko Gioacchini is joining us on the podcast. Niko, we are very excited to have you on today. It's been a long wait, but the whole team has been looking forward to this one. How you doing?
I'm lovely. I'm happy to be here.
How's the break been so far? You had a few weeks off, not even a few weeks, 8 days?
Yeah, I mean, we had 10 days considering the day after the game. So it's something where we got some good regeneration, some good time with family, friends, and replenish the minds.
Did you get to travel anywhere nice?
I went to Vegas for a few days with a teammate and a coworker, so it was definitely fun. Definitely fun.
Did you manage to catch any of the soccer going off in Vegas?
I got to go to the Dortmund Man United friendly game at the Allegiant Arena, which was a blessing. It was really lovely to see. Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay, we're gonna talk a little bit about you growing up. We're going to talk about your journey through Europe and eventually landing here in St. Louis City SC. But we start with a just for fun section. We need you to give me the most honest answers you got. I'm going to start with a real difficult one. Italian, French, or American food? Which is your favorite?
Italian.
Kansas City or St. Louis City?
St. Louis.
St. Louis barbecue, Kansas City barbecue.
Kansas City barbecue.
Favorite possession that is also a flex?
My car.
Favorite player that is not Cristiano or Messi?
Myself.
Best player you've ever played against?
Neymar.
Ooh, that's a good one. Best piece of advice you've ever been given?
Be patient.
Love it. Okay. We're going to talk a little bit about you growing up. You've got a really interesting career to date, and your story growing up is really cool. I'd love to hear a little about where you grew up.
I grew up, it's a great question. I've been a bit of a vagabond in my life, my family's life. We've moved all over. I was born in KC, Kansas City, Missouri. Spent approximately 8 years in Overland Park, Kansas. Then we moved to Italy. We spent 4 years, 3.5, 4 years in Parma. We learned the language, culture. It was lovely, but then we had felt it was time to come back home. And we had moved to the East Coast for about 3 years. And by that time, I was about 15. And that's when I moved to France. Stayed in France for 7 years. And last year, about 13 months ago, I signed for Orlando. And 4 or 5 months later, actually, I got the draft call to go to St. Louis, and now that's where I am here.
Awesome. So you've got a European passport. Like, where are your parents from?
My father's Italian, from Parma, born and raised. My mom was born in Spanish Town, Jamaica, but mostly spent her time in the New York, in the Manhattan area.
So Jamaica and Italy have strong footballing cultures. Which one of your parents brought you into the beautiful game?
It was more of a natural thing. I'd never seen the game being played, especially in Kansas City at the time. It was early 2000s. Whenever I saw a spherical object, I tend to use my feet more so than my hands, and I think that's where the love and gist came from. My father definitely loved football, but I didn't catch on until I started to play. Once I was 4 or 5, I started to watch AC Milan play, which is my heart team, and then from there it went on.
Kansas is a sporting town, baseball, football. Did you play any American sports growing up?
No, I played a little bit of tennis. I see tennis more of a European sport, but I did tennis for a few years. I did swimming, but no basketball, no baseball, no football, no hockey, no lacrosse, none of those sports.
About 8 years old, you just mentioned you moved to Parma. Um, Tell me about that. Like 8 years old, you're like very aware of like where you are in life. Was moving to Italy daunting, exciting? Like, had you been there before?
I had been there, I believe, on vacation prior to us moving there. Definitely exciting. I've always loved to move. It's never been a problem. Getting me accustomed at that age was also a good idea. That was smart by my parents. But definitely something exciting that I was looking forward to when I was 8. I remember flying there as if it was yesterday and almost starting a new life. It was tough as time went on, but definitely exciting on the upbeat.
Parma is a footballing city, like Buffon played there, Zola, Faustino Asprilla. As a young man that loved soccer, was it different, like arriving at a place with so much history?
At that age, I didn't really think of it. I'll be very honest. Obviously, looking back at it now, I see it more as a cultural thing, and there's a lot more to it than I had realized when I was 8. When I was 8, I just go in there and try to have as much fun as possible and enjoying what was going on around me. Besides that, it was kind of hard to appreciate everything going on around me besides the fun and games. So I can say yes now, but back then I probably couldn't have said that.
There's always a conversation going on in culture about the way American youth soccer is taught and European soccer is taught. You've spoken to me before and said that you see yourself as a technical player. I think we all see it on the pitch every week. Was there a difference in coaching that you noticed when you went over there? Is there more focus on tactics, and does that benefit the player who you are now?
There was more focus on passion. Passion goes a long way. It's something where in the US, I was more focused on all my technical skills because here in the US, they do work a lot on technique. I had a coach on the side where I would practice once a week, technically, and then I'd get to the game on the weekend and practice with my team, and I'd see my improvements. But in Italy and in France, it was more the passion of the game. Italy was full out passion, especially at a young age. You play because you love the sport. You give everything because you love the sport. In France, I learned the tactical side of the game, technical side as well, but it was mostly how to win as a team. It wasn't that, I wouldn't say evolved, but at that age in Italy, we didn't, we would have trained something different compared to what we would have done 10 years later or 5 years later. So, I learned a little bit of different things from everywhere I went.
What was it like being in Italy, just as a person, like adapting to the culture? Like, was it easy to make friends? Did it take a while to adapt to the language? Like, how does that sort of thing shape you?
Yeah, it's never easy, especially as a young kid where you don't know what's good for you, who's good for you. You just kind of stick by your family's side and go along and do what they do. But I hate not understanding. I despise not understanding what people are saying around me, because maybe they're talking about me, maybe they're not. So I always wanted to know. So I was really focused on learning the languages everywhere I went. Italy was, I had to, because my father was Italian. I couldn't move to Italy for 4 years, have an Italian father, and not know how to speak the language. So my parents, especially my mom, always set that standard for me. She set it basically for the whole family. You wherever you go, you need to learn the culture and the language there, and that'll help you later on in life respect people more, respect situations, and adapt to everything you see.
You moved to France. Was this part of a footballing journey for you, or was this like driven by family requirements? Like, how did you end up moving again?
Yeah, it wasn't football driven. It was my father's business location changed. He sells pasta. I believe he still does. So it was a relocation of his headquarters. So I happened to be in Paris, which was, it's also a blessing. It could have been worse.
Yes, not a bad place to end up.
Yeah, not a bad place to end up. So, I always knew France was a footballing powerhouse, especially for the youth. The youth coming out of France, as you see from then until today, are world class players. So it was a good opportunity to see where I fit in the in the food chain in France.
Did you have it in the back of your mind that you wanted to be a professional footballer by this age, or were you still just doing it for fun?
Yes, I knew. I knew I wanted to be a professional footballer. I didn't know what it took besides hard work, and I've just learned that along the way, because it's a lot more than just hard work. But yeah, I definitely knew that this is what I want to do. This is what I'm meant to be, and I'm not gonna let go until I get there.
So France, as you just mentioned, great for young players. Like no league in the world gives more minutes to teenagers. How did your move into the professional game happen? Like, did you like opt for trials? Did somebody scout you? Like, how did you go from like playing football to jumping into a professional club?
It was I was at Red Star, which was a club in the second division at the time. By the end of my tryout, they had dropped to the third division. So I think if you drop to the third division more than 2 years, you lose that professional status. I believe that's how it works in France. And they didn't manage to roster me, get my card and my license valid for the next season. So I had to change. I had to leave. And then I managed to get someone I knew from the US. My coach helped me get a tryout at Paris FC. My mom had been talking to an agent at the time who had a contact with the Paris FC club. And so I managed to get one tryout one day, and it took them one day to make the decision. They wanted to keep me. And that team at the time was in the second division as well. And that club, pardon, was at the second division. So I joined that team. They managed to pass my license, get my registration ready for this season. It took them a long time. It took them, I think, 9 months for it to get through. So I had to just play friendly games for 9 months. And then I eventually managed to start valuable championship games. But that was definitely after a year.
So you're playing in League Two?
Yeah, in the youth academy there. I was U17 at the time.
And you're competing with a lot of talented players, but you're on the cusp of making it pro. Like, do any of your behaviors change? Do you start to really focus in? Does it start to settle in your head what it means to be a professional footballer when you're looking at everything that's going on around you?
You know, at the time, no. I didn't put any pressure on myself. I didn't see, I knew being a professional player is what I wanted, but I didn't connect the two. I just saw I play as much as I want. I work hard, and I'll see where I am, eventually. I think with time, I've put more and more pressure on myself. But definitely at the time, at that stage, I was just trying to enjoy. And the more I enjoyed is the better I played and the more I was offered. At the end of the day, I didn't sign professional for that club, but it was those steps that got me to the professional team that I signed for.
So you do eventually make it to Cannes, club of N'Golo Kanté.
Mm-hmm.
How did that move come about, and like what did it feel like putting pen to paper on a deal?
It was as soon as I signed there, I signed a semi-pro contract for the U19 and professional reserve team. They were in the first division, so it was a big jump. I was very nervous considering this is a team that plays against Marseille, Paris Saint-Germain, Lyon. So it's something where you're like, how much time do I have? How much pressure do I put on myself? Do I need to play against these teams now? Do I feel ready? Do I not feel ready? You start asking yourself a lot of questions. But I managed to just play my game, put no pressure on myself after the first couple months. I think the first U19 season, I scored 20 goals in 30 plus games. And then the following season was my breakthrough season. I wasn't a professional yet. It was Coach Pascal Duprat, which is I owe him a lot because he's gave me my first chance with the professional team as a semi-pro player.
And who did you make your debut against?
Paris FC. So my previous team.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was.
What happened on that debut?
That was my first professional goal against my previous team and my first starting game. So that was definitely something I couldn't predict. It was one of the best moments of my life, I'd say.
Did you celebrate or did you?
I did. It was a humble celebration, but
Yeah.
I just kind of just ran towards the bench, and I thanked the coach. I thanked the team. My mom was there, my agent was there. It was a moment of pride. It's something where it's very hard to describe the emotions. You almost want to cry, but you don't, because you're a man, and you got to get through it and get through the game, and the game's not over. It was early in the game, so you still want to win. A bunch of things going through my mind, but definitely one of the best days of my life.
Did it give you the confidence that, like, yes, I can play at this level and above?
Yes, it did. I can definitely play at this level. I didn't just score in that game. I think I had one of my best games as a young professional player. Definitely, I was dynamic. I was everywhere, energetic. Obviously tactically wasn't my strength, because I was a young kid. I was kind of just running everywhere, but I probably had one of the best games of my youth career there. I can imagine. I mean, I should ask my mom and agent again, but I think they'd vouch for me.
You can always tell when fans like a player because there's YouTube comps of them. So I've been going through the YouTube comps of you. What position did you play? Because you're all over the place on the pitch. You're left, you're right, you're center. Like, what was the favorite position? Or when you're coming, when you're a teenager, they put you in lots of different positions to try you.
I was a 9. I started as a 9. He put me as a 9. He knew my position was naturally a 9, so I played striker that whole season, the rest of the season, because it was about the middle, close to the end. I knew that's where I felt most comfortable. I think the coach could see it, so he decided to keep me there, and had a team around me that would really support me in those moments of playing as a 9 and making sure I do what I was supposed to do, score goals, which I did over the span of that year. I think I managed to score about 5 goals before the end of the season as a non-professional player. So, I was still in a semi-pro contract playing with professionals. So it was a humbling but lovely experience. Lovely thing to go through and live.
Were there any players in that team that you look back on and you say, wow, that was a great mentorship that I got?
Malik Chukunte. He's playing for Nîmes now, I think, in the south of France. He might have changed. We speak sometimes, and he was a striker at the time. He got injured in training right before the game. It was the day before the game. So that's how I knew I was going to play. It was 24 hours before kickoff. And he gave me the best advice, that I eventually heard a lot afterwards, which was be patient. Enjoy every moment that you play, every minute on the field, every second, and be patient. And those words still carry on till today. I can't forget him. I won't forget him. And I definitely owe him that top quality mentorship, because he was a great guy. Considering I was also playing in his position, a lot of times there's rivalry and jealousy, which I do know about, but he was the complete opposite. He was a real man and real sportsman-like and super friend about it.
Your early stages of your career, like a lot of young players in the world, they had to go through the COVID experience. Tell me what that was like in France.
It was rough. I was in Caen at the time. They said a couple weeks prior to the league being shut down that they asked all players in the league if they wanted to continue playing during COVID or not. And I wanted to, because I didn't think it was going to be that bad, but it ended up being catastrophic, and they shut everything down. I moved back home from Caen, back to Paris with my family to stay with them for the 3.5-4 months that we were off playing. And being in a big city was a little tough, because we were in an apartment. It was 4 of us plus the dog. So
best bits of a big city are not friends to COVID.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Sometimes you're allowed to go out and walk around to get some fresh air, and it was a ghost town. I mean, it was a ghost town, but it was beautiful.
Yeah.
I've never seen Paris so sunny, so beautiful. The river was clear. You could really see all the way to the bottom. There was no pollution. I mean, the whole climate situation changed. And it was beautiful. I've never seen Paris look so beautiful and lovely and attractive. So That was the nice part about it, but it was definitely very long, very, very long. 4 months in an apartment is not fun. I would have rather had a house out in the country, like many of my teammates had.
What did you do to keep yourself like mentally tuned in during that time?
I mean, my mom was a little tough with us considering the situation. I'll be honest. We weren't allowed to play any video games. It was reading, keeping sharp between the ears, which is, it's great. But
Yeah.
I was like, all my friends are online playing this, playing that, and I want to play. I want to talk to them. I want to do stuff. I had a girlfriend at the time, so I wanted to go see her, but we really couldn't. It was tough, but my mom was always tough on us, so we were kind of accustomed to it. So a lot of family time was spent. Family moments were spent together, talking, communicating, stuff we didn't get to do when we were all in our own areas. So that was great. That was a good.
So it sounds like you made the most of it.
Yes, I tried my best. We all did. Yeah.
So you get a loan move to Montpellier.
Yeah.
Tell me about that. I mean, that's a prestigious club. Olivier Giroud played there. That kind of kickstarted his career.
Yeah, tough, very difficult. The circumstances weren't the best. I was going into a loan at the last hour, the last minutes of the transfer market. So, I wasn't at all a priority for the club. My current club wanted to get rid of me. Montpellier were like, we need an extra striker, but, it's not really the style we want. So it was tough. It was tough. I didn't get much playing time. I didn't get much confidence from the coaches, from the coaching staff, from the players. I had my little friend group, but it was definitely very, very difficult. If I were to give it a second try now, it'd be a lot different. But we all go through these learning experiences. It's a place where I learned a lot from certain players. I learned a lot of mental game work, mental strengthening. When you're really at your bottom of a career, even though it had just gotten started, you struggle to see the ways out. You struggle to see the solutions. You struggle to play. You're doubting yourself. Everything you do is wrong. It's tough, but I'm glad I went through it then and not later.
You played 77 games in League Two, according to my calculations. They might be a bit off. You might be able to correct me.
It sounds about right.
What are some of the highlights? I mean, that's you were extremely young. Like you're in a European league. Like, what's some of the highlights? What are the big things that you took away from that experience?
The physicality of the game. League Two is very physical. It's more physical than League One. Definitely very strong, especially as a 9. A little 5'10", 5'11" guy with 6'3", 6'4" guys behind you who, when they come in hard. It was definitely an awakening to start hitting the gym. So I did learn a lot from that because I was bruised up most games, knowing that defenders are tough. In League Two, they're very tough. My position needed to be different. My awareness needed to be 3-4 times better than it was. And those are all things that I've carried on to my game nowadays. I feel like I remember those moments and I'm more aware on the field. I'm always looking around. I'm looking at where the space is. I'm looking at where the defenders are. I'm looking at where my midfielders are. I'm looking at where my 10s are. So it's there are moments where you learn those things and they carry on for the rest of your career.
I think one of the things that just normal fans maybe don't see, and you kind of touched on it there, is the getting to the standard that you are at, playing in front of packed houses. You go through a lot of what feel like failures in the moment, and the test of character is how you come back from it. Like, sounds like you went through a lot. Like, what did you learn about like Niko the man, like through that whole experience, and like what does that do for you now? You're here.
Yeah, I feel like we always think, or at least I've always thought my cross was the heaviest to bear. But you learn that other people go through a lot worse. So, as a person, I've always thought, damn, this is happening to me. This is tough. Why me? What's going on? I always look up to God. So he's always been my guide, and I always ask him, why is this happening to me? But everything happens for a reason. Everything's made to teach something different. And as a man, as a young man, I feel like the world of football is teaching me how to be, as Malik and everyone around me is teaching me to be patient, because I've always struggled with patience. I've always wanted something right away. I was, in a family where I was a little spoiled as a kid. So, I got my way quite often. And the world woke me up. My mom did a great job of raising me because, she was the harder one of my parents. My dad was more the one who would spoil me. But what she's told me as a kid definitely carried on, and she was definitely right about how the world works and how I need to be. So patient, aware, respect people, respect situations, and listen, because you learn more from listening than you do from speaking. And she's always told me that. So, this obviously carries on into football, and it's something where I try my best to keep in my mind and in my heart all these words to make the best of my career and make the best of my life as a man.
It sounds like your mum has played a big influence on your career and like the discipline part of your game. Like, do you give her a lot of credit for where you are right now?
Yes, I said earlier that my biggest flex was my car, but I think my biggest flex is my mom.
That's nice.
I've been thinking about that since I said it, and I definitely take that back. I couldn't be prouder of who my mom is and how she raised me. If anyone had to ask me who's my role model, who do I look up to, who's my example, who's the person who I'd give my life for, it's definitely my mom. She's done such a job to basically take in hand being a father and a mom, because I don't speak to my father anymore. I owe her everything. So she's been my, the wind beneath my wings, as she always says, that she wants to be. And she's definitely doing it. So I hope it shows on and off the field. Sometimes we have our tough times, but her words are definitely the wisest I've ever heard.
Has it been special for her seeing you playing in Missouri for an expansion club, scoring goals in front of packed houses? Does she love the game like you do?
She might love the game more than I do. That's a joke, but I do love the game. She loves the game. She's learned so much about the game. She's on top of it just as much as I am, as if she almost played it for 20 years. So she doesn't talk much, but she definitely listens a lot. And it's proven, because she corrects me no matter how well I do on the field. There's always something I'm doing wrong. And she lets me know. I promise you, she lets me know. If it's one goal, why aren't you scoring two? If it's two, why aren't you scoring three? She always wants the best for me, and she wants more from me. She sees what my ability is, sometimes more than I do. And she definitely encourages me to always do better. So I try my best to impress her and everyone around me. That's why when I score and the goal over there, I tend to run to the right. Nothing against the fans to the left, but my mom is to the right, so I always have to go and send her some love and kisses. But I definitely play to impress my mom. She's the hardest one. She's my hardest critic, so my toughest critic. So definitely, she's the creme de la creme.
And you're a big family man. Does it help having family around you? Is that like an extra bit of motivation when you know that they're in the stands?
Yes. My sister and my mom have always been there. They've been to every home game. I think my mom missed just one. They've been to a couple away games. So they've I couldn't ask for more from my family. My brother's in Italy right now working, so I understand the situation. But my sister and mom have always been there, and I pay a huge respect to that. That's something that shouldn't be taken for granted, and I definitely don't. And when I do, God has a way of showing me, so I don't take it for granted. It's such a blessing.
So to sort of reverse back a little bit, you're in France. There's an opportunity in America, or is there a desire to move back to America and you send an agent out to find your move? Like, how did the decision come about that you were going to come back to, come to MLS?
Well, I had a tough year at Montpellier, so, teams, it's not like I had 20 teams to choose from. I had a couple or at a few, and I think that coming home was my best choice. As I say, it is my best choice because the other two we'll never know. So, coming back to the U.S., going to Orlando. Orlando was the first team to come to me. So I respected that. Obviously teams came after Orlando once they realized Orlando was going to sign me. I had a couple more MLS teams come and approach my agent, but I pay respect to who comes to me first. So I try to be the man of my word. So I told Orlando, I'll come to you guys and I'll play for you guys. They had presented me with a huge presentation, the coaches, Oscar, everyone, with what the plan was. Sometimes we plan and then God wipes away. So I tried my best to stay positive, considering what happened in Orlando was not at all what was presented to me and how I saw it. But we always end up in the right spot.
And you chose to represent America international level as well. You had other choices. You've kind of spent equal parts in Europe and in America, but you signed up for the international American scene. Does that speak to your love for the country? Did you always have that? Like, were the formative years baked into your head?
I always wanted to play for my native country. I mean, where I was born. It's red, white, and blue is where I'm from. It's where I was born. I had Italy and Jamaica as future possibilities, but the red, white, and blue is what I wanted to represent. I grew up in KC in the Midwest, so and I did love it there when I was a kid. I loved it there, so I definitely wanted to represent where I loved, and where I love. I still love my country. I haven't been called up in a while, but nothing till it's time, I'd say.
Situations don't always work out. You've just said that. There are loads of reasons why players succeed and loads of reasons why they don't at clubs. Lucky for us, there was an opportunity for you to come to St. Louis City SC. Did you know much about the club? Did you know any of the coaching staff? Like, how did this all come about? Like, where did the phone call come from?
Yeah, I got a phone call in the midst of shopping in Paris. I was out shopping for some clothes, and I got a phone call from Lutz and Bradley. I believe those are the only two voices I heard, and it was the best moment of that year to get that phone call. A lot of these phone calls when I'm in Europe, I don't answer, so it was definitely the right moment to answer, and I don't know how to describe it. I was almost befuddled, confused that this was actually happening. Considering how many choices they had. I think they probably had over 250 players that they could have chosen from, and I was the first pick. So I was happy. I wanted to leave Orlando. I needed somewhere new, fresh, where I could get an opportunity. And I had paid attention to St. Louis as an expansion team. And my mom and I had made a couple jokes, and my cousin Carlton, about, it'd be funny to move back to the Midwest, if St. Louis were to call me. And, the words came to reality. So I couldn't thank the whole organization and Lutz and Bradley for taking me.
So the plan that they described to you on the phone, did the reality map to the plan? Like, how close was what they offered to what it became?
Came to life. I mean, came to life. Like the night at the museum, it came to life. It was exactly how they told me it would be. I've heard a lot of A, B, and C, but it ended up being X, Y, and Z. And this was right on point. It was right on point. They told me they wanted a group of humble, low ego players who work hard, who keep their humility throughout the season, and as I say, give it their all. And that's definitely what they've brought together. That's definitely what we have here as a team, as a collective unit, and that's what we see on the weekends. Not every weekend's perfect. It's hard to be the best every weekend, but we come out triumphant most weekends because of this mentality, and it was instilled in us from the first day we got here, January 11th. I won't forget it. And it was described picture perfectly. Kudos to them. Very well done. Very, very well done.
So I've had a lot of your teammates sit in front of me. Everybody said there's something special about this dressing room. You just mentioned there that Bradley and Lutz wanted a low ego dressing room. You show up, you don't know you're going to connect with people. I've seen you on the training ground. We've all seen you on the pitch. Looks like you're having a good time, and looks like you like who you work with every day.
Yeah, we have players who try their best to understand each other and eventually do. Sometimes you don't have that chemistry from the get-go, but as you go at it, as you keep going at it, smart players do eventually have it. And it's working well. It's working better and better. Each player has their own individual quality that another player doesn't have. And you see that in games, you see that in training. Me personally, I try to bring verticality and positivity. I try to be very available to all my teammates as much as I can. I love making them look good. It's fun. It's fun to see us working well together and scoring goals, and that's something where I try my best to do. We have a group of humble. We have a group of humility, and it's something where it goes a long way, as I keep saying.
With an expansion team, it's you're all training together. You like the look of the players around you. You don't know what's going to happen on the pitch. Before the Austin game, did you have were you worried? Could this be terrible, or did you have a vibe? With all your previous experience, did you have a vibe that the team was going to deliver on the pitch?
Funny, because that game I had no opinion prior to the game of what I thought was going to happen. Obviously wish the best, but I did not know if we were ready enough. I did not know if I was ready. I did not know how the team was feeling. It's funny because I really don't remember at all. And I didn't think I had an opinion on how the game was going to go. But little to my knowledge, it was positive, more than positive. And it was great. I knew I wasn't starting that game, which was a little frustrating to me. I know what my ability is, and I felt like I could have been the coach's best choice, but it worked out in the end. Everything works as it's supposed to be, and it was a humbling experience. I managed to get a lovely assist in the end.
Talk us through the assist.
I don't think I give Klaus the best ball. My legs were still a little shaky from the first game, but I got the ball from Edu. I managed to, he turned, went forward. I managed to have a good control with my right foot out of the air. And my first thought was forward. Got to go forward. I knew there was space because it was just Klaus. I think someone was on the left side. It was me and 3 defenders. And I didn't know Klaus that well yet, but I know that a striker needs to make that run. So as I hit control, I kind of lift my head and I see he's already on there. And he managed to keep himself onside. So I give him a ball a little wide. I'd have liked to maybe put some spin on it to put him in straight into goal. But it worked out, so I can't really say much about that. And
it's got to be one of the goals of the season.
Oh, yeah.
Still, right?
Cut
It was a thing of beauty.
Oh, lovely. Outside of the right foot. A real number 9 finish.
What was it like in the dressing room after? All the preparation, all the hype, all the people that said that you guys couldn't do it and you were going to finish bottom. What was it in the dressing room after?
We knew that it was just the first game. People could still prove us wrong. They still can, but our job obviously is not to make that happen. And but that first game emotion was insane. It was. I think Bradley was crying. Carolyn was there, the owner. The emotions were so high up there. Tim Parker with his first goal. It was just a moment to live, especially for an expansion team. I think. Tim had an experience as an expansion team. I don't know if it went the same way, but definitely a first for me and for almost everyone on there to be so proud with the hard work and to beat a team in such an atmosphere, because Austin is arguably one of the better teams in the league, especially in the past. They had a tough year, I know, but their atmosphere and their stadium to go away and win a game like that in the last minute is something to be proud of, and we definitely felt that in the locker room after the game.
So then coming back to St. Louis, then you've got the home game.
Yeah,
what did you expect from the fans? Austin, let's be honest, that's a top 3 fan base in MLS. Unbelievable noise in that stadium that day. Did you think that you were going to get that matched here, or did you?
I was expecting it. And it was definitely like that. I remember the first action I believe I got down on the what is that, the south side
Yeah.
of the stadium. It was I managed to, I think, get the ball from the keeper, and I kind of came back in on the outside of the box and crossed it into Klaus, and Klaus, he missed it. But the energy we felt from that action, the first action of the game, oh, it was insane. I was like, okay, this is definitely going to be a great year and a great stadium to play in game out. So I was expecting a lot, and I definitely got more than I was expecting. It was loud. It was loud. Even hearing my own thoughts was difficult, which is a good thing, so I can stay focused.
So your game has developed, since the first games that we saw you. Like, it was great to see. I think game day 4 was your first goal, San Jose.
San Jose.
That must have given you a lot of confidence. But you've played as a second striker, and then Klaus was out, and then you picked up as a different type of number 9. Like, what? And you started to smash it. Number 9, like the first game seemed difficult, and then the second game it felt like you clicked. Now you've played in 2 different positions. Which one is your favoured? And do you feel like you are growing as a player? Do you feel that yourself?
Number 9 is my favorite. I've always been a 9. I love it. I love it to death. Definitely my preferred position. But I was having a lot of fun with Klaus. I really was. As a 10 under him, his movements, I was understanding. He was understanding. We had moments where we were there juggling between guys, bang, bang, bang. We have that connection. So, I feel like knowing that, going into games, knowing that made it just as confident and as fun as playing a 9. 9, you may get more chances to score goals and be more decisive and critical. But definitely having a lot of fun playing around Klaus. So, at the end of the day, I'd rather be a 9. But with Klaus coming back, I know how good he is and his stature. So I'm more than happy to work with that.
One of the things I noticed looking at your videos in France is you always seem to extract a lot of fouls against yourself. Like, people like to kick you up in the air. When you're getting kicked up in the air here, in the back of your head, are you like, well, I've got Edu feeding balls into the box? Like, is it almost an advantage that you cause people so many problems that they have to foul you in those dangerous areas? Is that part of your game?
It is. A lot of times people think it's a dive or it's light. Contact is contact. Sometimes it's light. Sometimes it's just enough to put you off balance, so you can't do what you want to do with the ball. A lot of times is a lot of holding, a lot of pinching, scratching, squeezing. I mean, those things they don't really see very often, and they tend to ignore. But it's part of the game. I know it's part of the game. I know defenders hate strikers like the way I play. I know it. I'm guessing it's very annoying because I wouldn't want to play against someone who plays in my manner, in my fashion. But it's my game. If you're gonna trip me, you're gonna trip me. The ref's gonna call a foul. It's a moment. It's a time where if they foul me, I want it to boost my team's confidence in believing in what I can do. If they don't foul me and I get around a player and we keep going forward, I want them to believe in what I do. It's tough to say that fouls are a big part of my game, but they are. Fouls slow the game down sometimes when it needs to be slowed down. They can speed it up when it needs to be sped up. It's just seen in a different manner. So I try to be as dynamic as possible. When you're always moving, it's easy to get fouled because it's annoying. It's annoying when someone's like a bug, a mosquito in your ear. It's, constantly, where is this guy? Where is this guy? Where is this guy? Where is this guy? And that's how I've been taught. Always be annoying to a center back. Never be standing still. It's easy for them to come and crunch you. Always be in the movement. And that's when they have to foul you because it's annoying. They're not going to keep chasing you around. Sometimes they're going to be a step late. And they have to foul you. If not, you're going to spin out, move. So it's part of my game. It's what I like to do. I don't necessarily like to be kicked, but
do you have to almost sometimes you see it, what's coming. You have to protect yourself in the way you fall as well. I mean,
yeah, that's a very good point. Falling is there's a technique to falling to avoid injury. I've seen many players do it. Neymar, Thierry Henry. He wasn't fouled much. He was very strong on his feet, but when he did, they fall with a manner that may look dramatic, but it's a way of contorting your body so on impact you don't hurt yourself. You don't hurt your hip, you don't hurt your shoulder, you don't hurt your back, you don't plant your knee poorly. So it's something that I've studied and that I feel comfortable doing. If I get taken down, if I just fall the way I fall, that's how you hurt yourself. A lot of times it comes from impact, but when you fall poorly, you have no control of it. So you may twist your knee, you may sprain an ankle, you may dislocate a shoulder, so you need to fall in a proper way. And it may look exaggerated, but it's to protect myself. It's not to make anything look dramatic or convince the referee. It's just being smart about your body.
You are a very focused man. What part of your game do you think has improved the most this year, or like what part of your game are you working on developing at the moment?
My finishing. I shouldn't have 8 goals. I should have about 12 to 13 right now. So I definitely think my focus on finishing needs to be better, and that's what I'm working on. I'm working on being calm in my shooting times, because sometimes sometimes I don't know, but I have more time than I think, and I rush it. It's something where it's frustrating looking back at it, because afterwards, like, damn, I could have this and I coulda, shoulda, woulda. So I'm trying to turn those coulda, shoulda, wouldas into reality, and no hesitation into what I do, and finishing more actions, because I have plenty. I managed to create, teammates managed to give me chances, and I need to be more clinical. I could have been I'm still in the race to the top, but I could have been up another 4 or 5 goals than what I have now.
Do you have a target in mind for the rest of the season?
I have a confidential target. Yes.
Confidential target. Okay.
Yes.
Let's talk about goals. You've scored some absolute beauties this year, but I don't think, and this is just personal, I shouldn't be bringing it into the podcast, but the goal against LA Galaxy blew my mind. Like, that was Dennis Bergkamp-esque. I wanted to know how much of that is improvising because you're a technician versus you do that sort of thing on the training ground. Like, how do you turn that ball into a goal of such beauty?
That finish was instinct. I knew where I wanted to put it, which is where it went, in that far corner, because goalies, he's coming across, but he's a little advanced. It's hard to bounce up when you're coming across, so it was, I got across. It wasn't the best cross, I'll be honest. Indy gave me a ball that I had to do something with, either control layoff, control shoot. But my instinct was bang, chip him, touch, just a touch. The ball already had force. Indy managed to put good force on the ball. So all I needed was just a deflection on the far post on target, and I that's what my instinct said would have gone in, and it worked. So yeah, it's just one of those things where ball comes in, boom. There's just no thinking about it. Fraction of a second, you do what you do. And I think that's what really shows what a 9, if he's a 9 or not. I think that's what really shows, is this guy a natural striker or is he something else? It's in those moments of instinct that you see what position he is. And I think that showed that, this guy plays 9. And, obviously it's lovely to do it against a good LA Galaxy team in this moment. They were also on the uprise before that game. I know they've had a tough season, but they're getting better, and it's definitely a moment where I was very happy to score. Definitely for confidence as well. Lovely. I love fun goals.
So there are fan favorites, but then there are number 9 favorites. Do you have a goal that just meant a little bit extra to you, be it because of team actions or like a moment in time? Like, what was your favorite goal of the season so far?
Oh, my favorite goal was my first goal against San Jose. It had been, just because it had been a really long time since I found the back of the net in a game. Man, it had been over a year, and that's tough for a striker, for a guy who's supposed to score goals. That's tough, very tough. So when I scored, it wasn't a beauty, but it was definitely a wall breaker. I had this lack of confidence the last year and a half because of that lack of goals, and that definitely broke through, and I was able to let go and enjoy the game more and score more goals after that. So that was my favorite moment. my favorite goal of the season. Besides it not being as beautiful as the Galaxy one, it had more value to me, more sentimental value.
Do you watch much football in your spare time?
Not as much as I used to.
Been keeping tabs on Lionel Messi?
I have, yes. That is inevitable nowadays.
Yeah. What does it mean to you as a player having him in the league with Alba and Busquets?
Yeah, it's you gotta respect what he's done. I mean, no one's done what he's done. Ronaldo got extremely close, but Messi has done abnormal things. So, watching him score these goals, free kick after free kick and shot after shot and making it look so easy is the hardest part. So I respect that definitely. We don't face them very often. I don't think we'll face them again this season, but unless we face them in playoffs if they get there. I think it's good for the league. It's good for the league. It's something where I've played Messi before already in France, so it's not going to be as shocking to me, I think, as it is for guys who haven't faced him yet. But it's Messi. You have to respect that he's the GOAT. So definitely great for the league, great for the coming years.
And talking of playoffs, is the dressing room talking about possibilities? Are you looking at where we are right now and getting excited, or are you one game at a time?
No, one game at a time. This is the moments where if you look too far forward, you let things slip through your hands and you end up not being where you want to be. And then that causes disappointment and then eventually failure. So, no, I'm going game by game, goal by goal, minute by minute, win by win. That's it. That's the most important part. That's, I think, hopefully what everyone's looking forward to. We haven't even talked about playoffs yet in the locker room. So it's just about winning the next game. Anything can happen. We can slip down or we can stand tall, keep our position, and win the Western Conference.
You're a fan favorite. Everybody loves seeing you on the pitch. There's loads of noise every week. What does the support in the stadium and the city mean to you personally?
I love it. I go to the supermarket and people recognize me. It's lovely. It's something where I didn't get much in the previous clubs. I didn't get that much attention, but I can see what the love is for the players here. I always try my best to make people happy and make fans happy, and it's about enjoying the game, enjoying what you see. If they don't enjoy what they see, they're not going to come back. So, besides the wins, I want to make it flary. I want to make it fun. I want to make it energetic. And that's something that I work on a lot. I get a lot of pleasure from seeing smiles, happy faces. So if I do that to the fans, then I will keep doing it, and that's my job, and that's what I love to do. So my pleasure is definitely making them smile.
Fantastic. We've got a little tradition on here. We like to finish out the podcast by you giving a message to the fans. They'll all be listening. And if you've got anything to say to the fans as we head into the back half of the season.
Keep being positive. Keep coming to the games. If you can't come to the games, support us in spirit. And just roar for us. We work hard to make you guys proud. We work hard to make sure at the end of the day, at the end of the weekend, you guys have smiles on your faces, no matter what happens. It's always hard to win all the games, I'll be honest, but we're definitely doing our best to come out with our best performances so you guys can go home happy and wear the jersey with pride. So we love you guys. I love the fans. I love every single one of them. And we're here to build the future of this club.
What a great way to finish the podcast, Niko. It's been an absolute pleasure hearing your story and what motivates you. It's been a joy watching you on the pitch, and we're looking forward to making more memories together as the season plays on. Thank you for your time. If you are listening to this on iTunes, make sure you give us a 5-star review. Let Niko know how much you enjoyed this podcast so he'll come back again. And on that note, we'll say ciao for now. Thanks,
Lovely,
Niko.
Pete. Thank you so much.